Have you ever heard a sound so strange it felt like it was crawling up your spine and burrowing inside your chest? That's what I heard the night the fog rolled into Ashvale. I swear to you, every word of this is true. It's the year 1874. I'm a land surveyor sent to catalogue the timber in an isolated village called Ashvale, a place forgotten by the rest of the world, tucked away in the middle of endless marshland. Nights smelled of damp moss and cold iron, the silence broken only by the rustle of marsh rats and the croaking of frogs, and when the moon hid her face behind heavy clouds, the fog would rise, thick as wool and just as suffocating. Then the whole town seemed to breathe, slow and uneasy, like it was sucking in some unseen horror with every inhalation. But it was a paycheck and a bed for the night, and I had neither to spare. So when the fog started rolling in, I ignored the locals' warnings. They barely spoke after dark, but earlier in the day they told me to keep to the lamp road when the fog rose, not to answer if I heard my name or the names of anyone else who had come here seeking. Answers? Answers to what? I didn't press. With a shrug, I poured myself another drink and settled in to wait for the storm to pass. And then it did, faster than the villagers had predicted. Before long, the fog slid under doors, carrying a smell like wet pennies. The windows of the houses opposite me rattled in their frames. The old inn I'd been staying in groaned like a ship in a storm, and I thought maybe I should heed the warnings. Maybe this wasn't just mist. And old wives' tales. Then the sound of a single bell tolled through the gray, slow and deliberate, like someone striking a mournful note into the gloom. Curiosity, perhaps a misplaced sense of bravado, made me follow the sound. I left the safety of the lamplit road and stepped into the fog. My boots sank in black mud. The houses on either side of me creaked and swayed until the walls themselves seemed to melt into featureless blobs of darkness. That's when I heard it again, my name whispered in my own voice. I stopped dead, my blood turning to ice water. Then it came again, closer now, and my own voice repeated, Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. I tried to call out to reply, but my voice died in my throat. All I could do was stand there and listen as my name slithered through the mist, beckoning me forward. And so I walked on, my footsteps sucking into the sucking mud, until the fog showed me something solid, a shape amid the gray, a building, the source of the bell. I reached out to steady myself against its peeling paint. The door creaked open and I stepped inside. It was a church, or at least it had once been. The roof had caved in long ago. The pews lay shattered on the floor and the pulpit had burned to charred splinters. But two things remained intact, the altar at the far end and the candles on it. Two candles burning steadily, casting dancing shadows on the walls, but no flames flickered. In the gloom above, there was no draught, no breeze, nothing to stir the air, and yet those candles stayed alight. Then I saw the book on the altar, an open ledger so damp it dripped. I crossed the room quickly, careful to avoid the puddles at my feet. As I peered closer, the flickering candlelight revealed the pages within. They were filled with names, the same names I had heard during the day, the names of every missing villager from the silence. As the tragedy was called, a night nearly 50 years back when every single bell in town had rung, but no one had touched the ropes. 7 people were gone by morning, their doors wide open, supper still warm on their table, no bodies, no tracks, just silence. I turned, my heart hammering against my ribs. In the doorway stood an old woman, her eyes like dull glass buttons in a face of stretched parchment. She wore a shawl, the very same one I'd seen on the woman who'd warned me about the fog. Beside her, other townsfolk emerged from the mist, silent as stones, their faces pale, the edges blurred as if the mist itself had carved them out. Thomas, 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 they rasped in unison, their voices like wind chimes in a graveyard. I tried to speak, to ask questions, but my voice wouldn't come. Every 50 years, the woman finally said, her voice like dry leaves rustling, the town feeds the silence, the fog chooses. She took a step closer and I flinched. Her hand, icy and damp, closed around my wrist. You followed the bell, you answered. I wrenched free and ran, stumbling through the growing gloom, the heavy silence pressing down on me like a shroud. The fog thickened, the houses stretched tall and warped, their window eyes gleaming with malevolent glee. One by one, the doors slammed shut behind me, but there was no one inside. The streets grew narrower, the walls closing in until I broke free onto the lamp road. Except the lamps overhead burned black and oily. The road stretched straight ahead of me, but the town behind me was gone. No crooked houses, no familiar landmarks, not even the faintest trace of where I'd been. All around me stretched only flat, featureless marshland, empty and silent, except for the soft lapping of water against the bank. I started walking. At first it was hard, my legs leaden, my mind numb, but slowly the fog lifted slightly, revealing a path, a barely discernible track through the reeds and grasses. It led me further and further from Ashvale, or what had been Ashvale, until the horizon grew distant and cold. Finally, the sky cleared and the moon shone bright and cold, as if nothing had happened, as if there had never been a town here at all. And yet I'm telling you this from a room that isn't on any map, where the night never ends. Sometimes I hear a bell in the distance, and sometimes, oh God, sometimes someone new calls my name.